Greetings, everyone. Welcome back to Blade Bias. Coming at you with another theoretical kind of advice-focused day. If you're here looking for me to talk about ballad songs, don't worry. A little hint for you. That content will be hopefully returning in the coming weeks here. But for now, I want to talk about the importance of being bored and how it can maybe help you with flipping. You'll have to let me stand on my soapbox for a few minutes, but don't worry. I will eventually tie it all back into ballad songs and drive that point home. But man, it's super cliche to talk about on the internet at this point, but it doesn't make it any less true that in our current age, we are bombarded by stimulus everywhere we go. And most guilty of bombarding us with this stimulus is this stupid little computer that we keep in our pockets called a phone. The phone, which was originally created to help us communicate, has reduced us to endless scrolling and constant dopamine, and it is driving me personally crazy. You might not feel this way, but I certainly have, especially this year more than any other, and especially since the pandemic. It feels like we have lost our ability to just be bored. You spend 3 minutes waiting in line at the grocery store, or some people I've even seen at a red light while you're driving, and you feel the need to do something. Pull out your phone, scroll, do work, whatever the case may be. I feel like the ability to just sit there with your thoughts and be a little bored has absolutely ruined us. And it is completely gone from most people, myself included. I certainly feel the need to pull out my phone and check notifications when I'm waiting in line at the grocery store. Thankfully not when I'm at a red light. I think that's freaking crazy. If you use your phone while you're driving, bad. Don't do that. But I am brain rotted, but I'm thankfully not that brain rotted. I can sit at a red light, my hands on the wheel, and just look around and observe, because that's what you're supposed to do when you're driving. Anyway, it's a little more soapboxy than I was hoping to get, but whatever. The ability to be bored is gone. And I think that's really sad. I mean, I get home from work pretty much every day from a job where I am very bored most of the day. I have to be honest. I've had my fair share of jobs in my very short time in the workforce where there isn't enough to do to fill the whole day. So there's a lot of times where I'm just sitting there, not really sure what to do, kind of bored out of my mind, just staring. And it is annoying. I'm not saying that you should just always be like that, because being bored is still a negative thing. I simply more mean that your ability to just put down the dopamine, put down the headphones or the phone or the scrolling or the work laptop or any of that and just live in the moment is something that I think would benefit a lot of us highly. And I think something that a lot of us want to do, even though we can't, because the dopamine grasp on all of us is so strong, especially for me. I mean, there are a lot of days where I come home from work and usually all I want to do is just lay down for like 10 or 15 minutes with my body outstretched, not sitting in a chair anymore. And that will turn into me checking notifications, catching up on messages, talking to friends, which is normal. And then 2 hours later, I realize I've just awoken from a slog of brain-rotting doom scrolling, and I've wasted away most of my night or my weekend or whatever the case may be. And there's a lot of times where I just want to take this thing and I just want to chuck it across the room and get it as far away from me as I can so that I can actually do anything productive. It's killing me. And one of my biggest goals this year is to help battle that. Now, Ethan, what does all of this have to do with flipping? I'm glad you asked. Because I think a lot of us, when we flip, myself included, flip with something else going on in our peripheral vision, in our ears, whatever the case may be. You flip while watching YouTube. You flip while listening to music. You flip while scrolling on your phone. You flip while watching TV. Any of those cases. And I'm not saying that this is an awful thing. This is obviously something that a lot of people do to relax, and that's fine. I have no problems with that. Where my opinion on, or where my advice on this comes in, is that your ability to remain a little bit bored, to put down the phone, put down the YouTube, turn away from screens, and just focus on flipping will help you improve in the long term, especially if your goal for that flipping session is to sit down and learn. And this is where the crux of my argument comes into play, because being a little bit bored while you're flipping doesn't mean sitting there doing nothing and actually being bored while flipping, because I think a lot of us when we're flipping aren't super bored. But allowing yourself to focus on that completely, to not fill every center of your dopamine receptors with everything that it can by watching YouTube or playing a game or any of that, is going to help your learning tenfold. And this really comes down to a concept that I do want to break down in a future video of active versus passive flipping. And I believe it was Pez Flips who made a video on this, where I first became aware of kind of this idea and these terms. So if you want, you can go check out that video that he made. He has a lot of great videos talking about things that go beyond just typical, like, this ballad song good for this reason. And I've really enjoyed checking some of those out. But I do want to post a video that is kind of my own perspective on active versus passive flipping. But to give you guys the very basic breakdown, passive flipping is when you're sitting there flipping while focusing on something else, whether it be YouTube, writing a paper, watching TV, anything like that. And active flipping is when you're sitting there focusing on what you're doing. There are times where both of these are going to be effective. There are times for both of these. I'm not saying one of these is better than the other or worse than the other. There are times when you just want to sit and flip idly to keep your fingers and your hands occupied while you're doing something. Perfectly fine. But there are also times where you're going to want to sit down and learn tricks and improve at your flipping. And in these cases, that is where you want to be actively flipping rather than passively flipping. I have found that there are benefits to both. Passive flipping brings you consistency. Active flipping brings you actual skill improvement. At least that's been my opinion and my experience in the balisong hobby so far. And that is something that I will get into in a future video where we talk all about at least my experience with active versus passive flipping. But the point that I want to make in this video is, especially if you are trying to improve at flipping, put down the phone, walk away from the computer, focus on your flipping first. And I almost guarantee you that you will see a huge change in the way that you flip and the way that you learn. Even music, which is something that I have been doing a lot this year, sitting and listening to music while flipping can still provide enough of a distraction to where you're not getting the full level out of your learning. And it's something that I'm going to try going forward. I haven't tried it yet, but the idea for this video did spark the idea for me to just start flipping. Instead of doing my usual flipping sessions where I listen to music, I'm going to start sprinkling in some flipping sessions where I'm sitting alone in a room, focusing totally on flipping. And I want to see where it gets me. If you want to do the same, let me know how it goes for you. If you couldn't care any less, that's totally fine. I'm not here to tell you how to live your life and how to flip your balisong. But I do think for those of you who are looking to improve, for those of you who are even looking to kind of break that addiction to your phone, flipping could probably be a great way to do that, as long as you do it without the extra distractions. Focus entirely on your flipping and what you are doing. And I think you'll notice that the time will drift by far more quickly than you really expect that it will. Thank you for watching another Ethan Rambles Incoherently about a topic. I hope you enjoyed. If it was helpful to you, let me know. If you have any opinions on any of this, let me know as well. And I will see you all in the next one. Later.